Hello everybody, today I would like to introduce you a VPN technology based on Microsoft software. We will using Windows 2012 and Windows 8 client to connect to everything. There is a lot of things in the internet, of course. You can watch YouTube movies, you can read the manuals and Microsoft web pages, but most of them showing only how to create a very basic VPN tunnels, for example in preshared keys and PPTP protocol. Of course, we will be also using the same technology at first, but I've also decided to release a part 2 when I show you how to create the tunnels with using a certificate. Let's take a look at first on our network chart. We should all know what we're dealing with. It's a very simple network with 3 devices. It's a client device here, which will be connecting through the one network to the remote access server. There is remote access server and also Active Directory. An Active Directory it's not needed here, but in most of corporate environments we will probably use it. But you should be aware that it will be sufficient enough if there will be only remote access server and the client, which I will show you in a minute. We have here external network 192.168.0.0 24 bits network here, and internal network 10.0.0.0 also 24 bits here. Alright, let's configure at first 2 devices, a client device and a remote access server. So in a remote access server we have to install the role at first, and on the client we can configure a VPN connection. So let's take a look at the client first. We have to assure that our network properties are set OK. Status details will show us that this interface is connected to the external network. So we can set up a new network. We are connecting to the workplace with the one VPN technology. And using our chart, we are using an address 192.168.0.1. It doesn't matter how we name it. We push create. Okay, we got a VPN interface. It's not working right now because the remote access server is not set up yet. So it should give us a message that something is wrong here. As I told you in the beginning, we will firstly use the PPTP protocol, so check the basic connectivity. So we are forcibly use point-to-point protocol with VEP, and that should be sufficient. Okay, it won't connect now. So let's take a look on the other side, on the remote access server here. And create and install a proper role for the server. So we are going to add roles and features, next, and remote access. He should ask us what kind of rules we would like to deploy. So we take an direct access and VPN and also routing. It will install also IIS. So now we have to only wait for all of stuff to be done. It seems that the installation is completed right now, so we can close this and go to the tools, routing and remote access, and start the wizard from here by right-clicking on our server and going to the routing and remote access wizard. There is a lot of things that we could pick from here, from this menu, but honestly it really doesn't matter which one we pick. We can also install something later. That's why we will take the first one. We're going to supply the VPN check and select the outside interface, which in our case is that one. We don't want to use the static packet filters. We will be using Windows Firewall. So uncheck this one and go next. Here we have to give him a static pool of addresses that will be granted to our client. So let's just pick some range here. 5 addresses will be sufficient, I think. And go further. We'll use remote routing and remote access to authenticate connection. I'm almost sure that next time I will show you how to use a radius server also. And that's all. We are going to finish this. It's the message that appears here told us that if we're gonna use a DHCP service on different subnets, we have to create also relay agents on each of this subnet, but we have no such situation because we have our own pool, so we can just ignore it. And we're waiting for finish. And complete this wizard. This service will also restart, and yes, we've got almost finished here. Because on the client side, everything is already configured. We have to check also properties of the server to assure that everything is okay here. And we've got an IPv4 router here and remote access for IPv4, and that's fine. In the security tab, we are using the Windows authentication. You can use Radius client, but it's not configured yet. For our account provider, also Windows accounting. We will come back here a little bit later for configure also preshared key for L2TP protocol. And when we will be using SSTP, we'll have to create and provide a certificate here. In IPv4, we got a forwarding enabled, and this is our pool that we've provided before. And we have to enable broadcast name resolution here on the interface that it's connected to the internal network. I'm not sure if it's okay, so let's check this again. Ethernet 5 status. Yes, this is internal network, so we can use it. Let's take a look on the other options. IPv6, we are not using it yet, so we can disable it, or we can stay enabled. It doesn't matter. IPv2, these are connection parameters, so we can tune it for ourselves if we would like to. And PPP with multi-link and BAP, dynamic bandwidth allocation protocol it is. That's some kind of a tricky thing, especially designed for our very old connections like X25 or dial-up connections, where aggregating of the links was something which was very good for endpoint client, because the connections was 56 kilobytes per second. So there was a good point to aggregate such, for example, 3 or 4 links. And BAP was a protocol designed for control of this stuff of multi-linking. For example, if 4 links were aggregated and only for 50% of them were used, the BAP protocol was designed to drop unnecessary links. Okay, let's not use it anymore because we cannot use multi-linking and bandwidth allocation protocol with new links, VPN links, and we can aggregate such a connections. The last tab is logging, so it's a basic logging right now, only errors and warnings, but if something goes wrong, we can just change the behavior and change the log. Okay, well, let's apply this. And on this point, we should be able to connect directly to the server. Alright, let's check if we will be able to connect now. We'll provide an administrator account credentials. Oh, there is something more that we need to configure, and I am almost sure that I know what. We have to come back to the remote access server and go to the users, because we are trying to provide a credential of the user which is on the remote access server, because we don't have Active Directory yet deployed, so it's not directory service account. So let's go to the users here. Yeah, control panel user. Oh, it will be much easier for me if I will just do this like this. We are going to Advanced tab and Advanced User Management. Let's find our administrator here, and we're going to Properties and dial in. And yes, we have here access to the server controlled by NPS server. We don't have yet it deployed, so it can just find it. So that's why it can connect. If we will pick Allow Access by any means, it will probably be able to connect. So let's close all of those windows now. I hope that this time we'll have more luck here. So VPN, connect, again, administrator account. Let's try to log in, and yes, it was that. We are now connected. We can check this, the status of this connection here, by going in adapter settings and status details of the connections. Now we can see that we are using PPTP protocol with encryption 128 bits, and it's 11.0.0.3 address provided here. Not bad. So let's try L2TP here. So we have almost the same situation. We have to just reconfigure that one. Oh, maybe we'll first disconnect this VPN, right? We're going to Properties and Security, and we'll pick a layer 2 tunneling protocol with IPSEC, because we're not using certificates yet. We have to provide preshared key, which will be quite simple, from 1 to 8. Okay, it's just for test purpose, so don't try it in your production environment. Okay, now we have to go to the server and fire up the routing and remote access. We're going to Properties and Security, and here we have to specify the same preshared key that we've configured on the client side. We're going to apply this, and the servers have to restart. Okay, so let's restart it. I hope it will be quite fast. I'm still here. We're waiting. Alright, seems to be fine. So let's come back to our client and try to use a new VPN with L2TP, providing the same credentials, and we're connected again. So the second success here. So let's take a look on the connection details here again. That one. And yes, L2TP protocol with much better encryption than PPTP, 256 bits. Okay, there is also one more thing I would like to show you here on the server side. Well, if we will go to the routing and remote access here, we can check our remote access client status. Yes, by
right-clicking here and go to the status, we have a duration of the connection and the statistics. You can also reset or disconnect the client. Well, let's forcibly disconnect him. And what's now? VPN has disconnected. Can we connect again? Yes, we can. All right, refresh. And we can see that the duration now it's started again. Counter started again. All right, there are also some sort of ports here, a lot of them. And one of these ports should be active because our client is currently using it. So we have to go to L2TP port because we are using L2TP. As you can see, here it is, L2TP. Inactive. Am I blind? No. Here it is. 127 port. Almost the same information provided, but from the other side. Okay. And that's how connections work. So let's now try to deploy an Active Directory and connect all this stuff together and then connect as a user from Active Directory. Here we got our third server and Active Directory, which must have an Active Directory services role installed. So let's try to do this. Right click, next, and Active Directory domain services. We have to restart the server after all those things getting work, and now we're just waiting and restarting. After rested and rebooted this computer, we will have to add remote access server to the Active Directory domain, and that should be okay. Alright, the role is installed. Now we have to promote our server to Active Domain Controller here by creating entirely new forest. We'll call it test local. Alright. All of this wizard stuff is taking some time, so be patient, please. We are providing our password for restore mode. And during this installation, it will install also DNS services because an Active Directory is directly connected with the DNS. Next again. And again. Okay. It will show us some messages over here, but in most cases, if there are no red X's, we can ignore all of those and click just install here. And now we're waiting for Active Directory to deploy. Okay, we got Active Directory deployed here, so now we have to provide a membership in Active Directory domain for our remote access server also. So let's go to our RAS server. Yes, we got it. So let's change this section. Change and member of domain. It was a test local domain. We can see that it's trying to connect, so it found it by the DNS name. And of course, it connected to the domain. Now we have to reboot this server, which will take just a little more time. Restart now, and we'll come back in a moment. Okay, in the meanwhile, let's try to create a user in Active Directory, a user that will be used and create by connecting to the VPN. So we are going to Server Manager again, and Active Directory users and computers. Let's create a new one by new user, first name, James. Doom. James Doom. Yeah, that's fine. Doom J. Now let's give him a password. Password never expire, and he cannot change this password. And we've got him. Of course, we have to remember that in a properties for a newly created user in dial-in, we have NPS checked. So again, we have to allow access here. And now we have a situation that when a client will try to connect to the remote access server will ask the Active Directory server for credentials. So let's try this now. All of this stuff is configured right now, so we should be able to connect again.
Okay, let's check if everything is working fine. Let's try to connect, this time using other credentials. So our Doom James from a domain test local will try to connect. Yes, he is. He's connected. Again, we can check the settings. Everything is okay from this side. And from the side of a remote access server. Also, everything is okay. So it's working with Active Directory.